All right, hey everyone. So my name's Jeff. I'm here to talk about why $170,000 is probably not enough money for most people in 2024. I'm a millionaire. I own 16 homes, and I run an Airbnb business. But we're not going to be talking about that today. We're going to talk about why, like, my income as a $170,000 salary per year, my peak year as a doctor of pharmacy, was really not that much, especially in 2024, and why it's really not going to make you wealthy or happy moving forward. So first we got to talk about like what I heard. I guess let's go back. So when I first became uh, like a pharmacy clerk, so back when I was around 18 years old, I was personally told in undergrad that pharmacists and doctors and healthcare workers actually made a lot of money, and the salary income actually varies like quite much. So it's quite wide. And what I mean by that is like some doctors of pharmacy will make like 80,000 to 170 a year. Some doctors, depending on if they're like MDs or DOs or if they're like neurosurgeons or anesthesiologists, I don't know if you guys have ever heard what they do, but they can make like 300 to like $700,000 quite easily as a W 2 worker, depending on the job they find, obviously. If they opened up their own clinic and took on some liability, it could be much, much more, obviously, because that's just what they get paid. I mean, they went through like 13 years of schooling. They probably deserved that because they need to play catch up. They're in so much debt and they gave up so much of their life, and they probably didn't start working until they're like in their 30s. So 170 is really not a lot, mainly because of four main things I want to discuss, which is like rent, mortgages, um, childcare, and then just food. So those things are actually way up. And if you're comparing it to like income back in the days, like when people told me when I was 18 that doctors and stuff made a lot of money, if you made 140 back in like 1999 or like 2008 when I first graduated from high school, then yeah, 140 was probably a lot. But nowadays we've all heard of like COVID and like the money printing that has happened throughout the years. And for that reason, that 170, 140 is really not that much. First of all, your taxes keep on going up, especially living in California. I live in San Diego, California. And you can just tell like gas in California used to be like $3. Now it's pretty much like the lowest you could find is like $4 unless you're like really shopping around. I can't I don't know any place that sells gas for $3 in California. If you know one, drop it down below, and I'll everyone will swamp that gas station because everyone loves saving money. Um, Food is super expensive. So like these hot Cheetos, these Funyuns, and they're my props, obviously, just because they're accessible, and I buy these for I buy a lot of chips for my guests who attend my meetups, and I'm just buying chips a lot because it's an easy snack. But anyways, there's like $15 for like a 12 pack. Back in the days when I used to buy these, they're like $7 for a 12 pack or 15 pack. And it's pretty much doubled in price. But have you noticed that our income has pretty much not doubled? And there's actually a crazy graph if you look at it. It's like comparing like your wage growth versus food cost growth, and you can see that like it's greatly separating. So if you play it out even more and time goes on, obviously the stuff is going to be more valuable than your actual W-2 income, unless some crazy reform happens within the American economy, which I honestly don't think is going to happen. Childcare is pretty much really bad now. Um, so I also read an article recently where it's saying on average most children per children costs around $20,000 per year, all the way up to 24,000. And obviously, depending on how thrifty you are, how frugal, um, you can change that. But at the end of the day, kids need diapers, kids need food, and sure you can do the work, but at the end of the day, you're not paying yourself extra for the work that you do. So if you want to use like reusable diapers, or if you want to like grow your own food, which is honestly unrealistic, and make your own baby food, that's definitely a way to save money. But at that point, you're basically going into a whole nother business, and it's going to take up too much of your time. And you're probably not going to be seeing your baby. You're probably just going to be like trying to grow food or something like that. So yeah, $24,000 a year. Food, again, I didn't really recap that, but could easily cost like $20,000 to $30,000 per year. And like gas, daily living activity, toiletries, um, eating out, vacation. Those things add up. So we'll put that in one category for like $20,000 to $30,000. So that's maybe like $40,000 on the conservative side. And next is rent or like rents for apartments in San Diego, California, and we're gonna do San Diego because that's where I live. If you go anywhere else, it's much better, I'll tell you that. But either way, rents have pretty much skyrocketed, and that's the nature of the American economy. Like rents always pretty much go up, so don't expect some crazy crash in rents because housing inventory is gonna go up. It's just not gonna happen. It's not realistic. What we have right now is probably gonna be what it is, unfortunately. So rents in San Diego for like a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, it's like $2,200 for a decent looking one. I'll tell you that, in an apartment or condo. And if you do that for 12 months, $2,200 for a not even a starter home. This, like, imagine if you had a family and you're trying to fit them in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in San Diego. It's gonna be tough, but you can make it work. I know my family would have done that back in the days if they did it back in the days. But 2,200 times 12 would just round that out, 24,000. So $24,000 for rent and only going up. So if you don't own a home and you don't control your expenses and lock in like fixed rates, that could be an issue for you if you're going to be renting the rest of your life. So now we have food for 20,000, childcare for 20,000, 24,000 for rent. That's pretty much like $64,000 already, and this is relatively conservatively. If you make $170,000 like I did as a pharmacist, my peak year, this was like when I was working like 60-hour weeks, got a bonus, and there was even like a day in October where I had like 3 days off, and I worked like 12-hour days because I just drove all over the place. And I'm not complaining. This is by choice. At the end of the day, like, it was my choice to work these crazy hours. It was my choice to pursue this career. But I just wish I heard some other person's perspective when I was 18 years old about like what it actually means to make a lot of money, and actually to like kind of wrap your mind about like how money's made, because you just don't learn this like when you're 18 or just starting to apply for pharmacy school. You just hear about like, oh yeah, the salary sounds pretty good, 170, and then like you being used to most people making only like 35 to like $40,000 a year, 170 sounds great. And if you're saying like, oh, this guy's just like spoiled and unappreciative, that's definitely not what I'm trying to get at here. But if that's what you think, just click away from the video. That'll solve your anger issue with this video. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I'm saying like my family lived off like $40,000 a year back in the days, and they made it work. So that's again, no prejudice. We're not going to discuss that today. We're going to talk about like the 170. But yeah, so 170 minus maybe like $70,000 off the bat, pretty much for like taxes, Medicare, Social Security, investments that I might want to do. And technically, like my bonus money that I made, which was like $20,000, was pretty much cut in half. Like it was 20,000, went to like 10,500 immediately. So it really wasn't that much. So what I was left with was 150, and then paying taxes on the remaining. So it ended up being like maybe I kept like $90,000 to $100,000. And if I want to like get a new car, which is pretty much what I did when I graduated, bad move financially, but I wanted a car because I was delaying gratification for about 8 years. It was about $32,000. So my whole year I spent pretty much paying off my car, and then the remaining amount like figuring out what to do with it, because I learned pretty quickly, like within like 3 months, that I couldn't work full time as a W-2 employee 60 to 40 hours every single week for the rest of my life, or even very long, like maybe like 15 years max, which is why I ended up stepping away, taking a lot of sabbaticals when I was 30. Now I'm 33, by the way. Now I pretty much do real estate full time and make these YouTube videos to kind of share my experience and my story, hopefully inspire someone else, or someone else younger, or someone else older, to get started and reach financial freedom within 2 to 5 years, because it gets quite fun. The world is just better when everyone else is wealthy. So I think if you have a skill that can help people, do it. And the last thing we're going to talk about, though, we're going to go back to the one major expense. So we've talked about rent, food, gas, daily cost of living, childcare. We didn't even really add too much in vacation stuff, but vacation, if you have a family of 4 and you want to do a vacation, easily $10,000 for flights, hotel, food, gas and transportation unless you're just super thrifty, like my family was when we were younger, and just took like road trips and slept at gas stations and Walmarts, which is not apparently a very safe thing to do anymore. But anyways, the last thing we're gonna talk about is if you don't want to rent, is to actually buy a home. So imagine you have a home in San Diego, California. Good luck, first of all. Can easily cost a regular single family home, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, $600,000, pretty easily. That's way under the average purchase price. I think of single family homes in the San Diego County is like $800,000 to $900,000. I track this, but I get pretty creative with my deals and I look for the best stinking deals possible. So if you find a fixer upper and maybe not a great neighborhood, or someone just has a lot of distress with their property, like they're getting divorced and they don't know how to sell properties and they just want a quick exit, you might be able to find something really, really good, like $600,000. Very hard to do, by the way, if you're not a professional investor like I am or my friends are. Your mortgage on that home would probably be around like $4,000. If you're not super wealthy and you don't put in a large down payment, you do the normal Federal Housing Administration like government subsidized loan, which is called FHA loan, 3.5% down on a $600,000 home. So it could end up being like $20,000 saved, $30,000 saved if you could like negotiate seller credits. But at the end of the day, $4,000 for a mortgage is quite expensive. And there's also like maintenance and repairs, taxes, insurances that you got to pay for being a homeowner. And if you just multiply that out again by 12, 4,000 times 12, $48,000. That's pretty much all your money. If you're making $170,000 in San Diego, California, you had kids, you want to eat and go on vacation once in a while, and that's just not like what I expected when people told me doctors made a lot of money at 170. It's like I thought I'd be living lavishly, like having a home in Coronado Island, owning a $2 million, $1 million home, because 170, I only had to work 5 years to do that. But again, what it really was more like $90,000 earned, and then like the rest of the whole amount going into living expenses. And saving $20,000-$30,000 every single year to try and like get a home in Coronado within a reasonable time period when I'm not like 80 years old, 70 years old, would be kind of tough. And honestly, I think it would have worked if I was patient enough. But I'm not. I don't think most people want to wait till they're like 70, 65 to kind of live their life when their bones are achy. And that's you. Again, no judgment against that, because some people really just love their work and they never want to change, and the pain of changing is more difficult than learning than like living with the way things are. So some people are just like, hey, I'm gonna work till I'm 65, not really think about money, and I think that's personally a really risky way to live, like to have no backup plan, like say you get injured, say you end up wanting to have more kids, or say like you change your mind about something. I think humans are allowed to change their mind. If you change your mind about your job when you're 50 but you have no other skills, it's gonna be much harder than doing it when you're younger, I'll tell you that. So if you by chance hedge your bets, buy a couple investments, buy some homes, like Airbnbs, and then you basically have a hedge. So like say like, yeah, I love my job now, but then like 20 years later, I just don't know what my 20-year-old self is going to think. You change your mind and you have an easy like bargaining chip. You're like, you know what? I'm going to take a break. I'm going to trade in this house I've owned for like 10, 20 years. I only own like a third of the debt. I only have about like, I own most of the home and I only have a third of it owned by a loan because it's amortized, which is kind of cool. You probably made a lot of rental income from that property if you did it right, if you managed correctly. And if you didn't, or if you're not managing your property correctly, do that fast, because you're losing a lot of money by not having your property cash flowing. And that's honestly why I don't think 170 is a lot. And this mindset shift, like just analyzing and looking at like what this current situation of my life was at that time, and what it would be like if I played out for 15 more years. Again, 15 times $30,000, that's good money. That's $450,000 saved. But I also don't know what the U.S. economy is going to do in 15 years, over 15 years. If they're going to inflate their money which means that stocks are pretty much like, I don't know, triple the price of what they were. Houses are probably also triple the price of what they were. My money just goes a little bit less far. So that's again why like it's not enough to just like work this job and save that money and be a good safe investment plan. And it's just not smart in my opinion to do that. To like not do anything about it and not buy assets, not buy investments. And I had a really big mind shift, like a mind shift, like framework change. I guess I don't know what it is. Mindset shift recently when I just experienced like collecting $100,000 as a new business owner after only being up and running for about 1.4 years. So pretty new. I made $100,000. So, and before that, I was making $7,000 every single month as a pharmacist. And it just like shows you like what we're taught to believe is like really not true. And I still feel a lot of pain about just losing $7,000, even though I just made $100,000 in a month. And that's just because that's the environment I was around, and that's what my mind wrapped around. Was like I remember thinking that $7,000 a month is a lot, but you don't really know what a lot is, and you decide what a lot is. Honestly, like so if you are poor one day, you're struggling. You can literally, if you have the mindset shift to do so, you can literally one day just decide. You can think like 40,000 a lot and live with that, and be okay with it just fine. But if you're not happy and one day you just decide 40,000 is not a lot, and then you change your lot to, I don't know, $1 million a year, that's probably what you're gonna work towards. And if you find the people who are in the area who are around you that might be making $1 million per year, you're probably going to end up being like them because you're going to take advice from them. You're going to follow their footsteps. And yeah, sure, it might be 7 to 10 years till you figure it out. 2 to 5 years is what I think personally, if you follow my path. But if you follow that path and you do what they say, 1 in 6 people are millionaires. It's very likely. It's not like a super uncommon thing. It just means you're around the wrong people. You're probably hanging out with the other 5 out of 6. But if you change your environment and find the 1 out of 6 and just hang out with them, it's quite easy to do. And they're easy to find. They're free to find. You can go to real estate meetups for free all the time. You can start your networking journey there, just like how I did if you want. Or you can pay a coach to like just skyrocket and like put you in the right rooms. I don't have that type of network, so I don't have like a big social network where I can do that. All I have is like my design setup service. So I will literally go to your property and physically set it up for you, and you can pay me for that instead of paying me to dispense your medicine. And I'm much cheaper than drugs. I can sell like $100,000 worth of medicine per day, but my projects take 1 or 2 months to finish, and I charge much less than that. So not gonna say price because it all depends on the other person. But yeah, that's why I don't think $170,000 is a lot, especially in San Diego, California. I think that you decide what is a lot, and once you figure that out, you realize that maybe the life you believed was true isn't so true.